Hello folks, my name is Amit J. I am MS Dynamics CRM Senior Solutions Architect and Techno-Functional Consultant. I've been working with this application and platform for over 12 years now. This is one of the sessions and webinar that we have in the series of administration and security of MS Dynamics CRM application. Today's topic is around the concepts of assigning, sharing, and queuing of records. So let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. Of course, we will be going through what is this all about, what are these three notions used for, and we'll of course look at the usage of the assign and share operations and the usage of queues. And we'll of course go through the types of queues. In general, we have it's really about how the queues are set up in the application. So let's take a look at our application. So this is our home page of the same online trial that we have been using in last sessions. Okay. Let's look into the settings and security area. And if you remember from last time, we said that teams can be used as owners of the records. And for a team to own a record, it is very important that the team has some security role which allows the user to read the records. So let me just move to the full screen version so you can take a look better. So yeah, so this is a team that we have, out-of-box team with our root business unit. And in this team, we can see if there is a security role assigned. Yeah, we have assigned it the Vice President of Sales security role. What this role provides, we don't have to go into those details today. But let's see how does this work with the assigning and sharing. So when you talk about assigning and sharing, it's really about the core records or the transactional entities that we have in the system, which we want to pass around between different users. The concept is that it should be easier for the users to share the data, to allow access to each other's data, and so they can actually work upon in a more collaborative way. It's not a collaboration platform, so to say, but it's providing some of the very basic features. But they're basic, but they can be extended to a lot more when we come to customization. So let's take a look at the account. This account, remember, we always see the owner of the record on the top right corner. So the owner right now is a user, which is myself. And you can see the user's little icon is a person here. And if I want to assign this record, assignment will actually change the owner. So what will happen after that is that whoever is the owner of the record after I assign it, the security roles of that owner, whether that owner is a team or a user, security roles of that owner decide who will be able to see that record, who will be able to delete that record, who will be able to update or whatever, all those privileges or permissions that we looked up at in our last session, who can do all of those operations on this record afterwards. So at the moment, this record is driven by the security rules that are assigned to me. So now if I change if I want to assign, I'll see two options. Of course, I can assign it to myself, which really is no change for myself. But if I want to assign it to another user or team, I'm just clicking around in this box, and yeah, this me is actually significant when you can actually look at another person's owned record in your in your business unit or your organization, and you want to assign it to yourself. So you are looking at a record which you can actually already change, and you can already make changes to that record, and you want to take control of that record so it is driven by your security roles afterwards. So then this me is a quick way to fix that. So for now, I want to change the owner to somebody else, and let's see, what does the platform provide us? Application provides us with some kind of a lookup dialog. It's a very familiar interface when you start using the application. And in this lookup dialog, you can see you can either select a team or a user. At the moment, we only have one team, and we just say, okay, let's take this team. Don't bother about this error. Let's take this team, and you can see that the icon of the team is a bit different from the user. And assign. Don't bother about this again. Now you can see that the owner has changed automatically. You don't have to save it afterwards. So there's no change that you have done on any of the fields. But now what happens? If I log in with another user, that was the functional part of how you assign. What happens behind the scenes is important to understand. At the moment, I am logged in as an administrator of the user, so I can see everything, no matter what. I can see all records across the system, so it does not matter whether I'm looking at a record which is owned by myself or whether I'm looking at a record which is owned by a team where I'm a member. So if I log in as one of the other users who does not own this record, or who is member of this team but is not a system administrator, that person should also be able to see that record based on the security role of the owning team. So if the owning team has the permissions to read the record, that person will also be able to read it, update it, delete it, and likewise all those privileges. So just imagine you're working in a sales department, and you have peers in the same type of sales, and at some point you want to go for vacations, and you don't want the sales to be blocked because of you being not available. What you can do is that you can simply say, okay, I assign my records, my accounts, and my contacts and my leads to one of my colleagues who will take care of that. We'll come back to this example again when we talk about share, but remember, this is one of the use cases, one of the situations where you can actually use this feature. But then remember, you have to get that. If you want the full control of that record back to yourself, you need to remember that once you come back from your vacations, you get back those records. So your colleague does not just take those records and does not let you get those back. So you have to, there's some kind of a process you have to follow, that okay, after 30 days or 20 days, get me the ownership of these records back. That's those kind of processes you can implement in CRM also. So this was the assignment part. Let's take a look at the sharing. Sharing is a bit different. What sharing allows you to do is similar, but you can actually say that I do not have permissions to read account entity, or I do not have permissions to, let's say, I do not have permissions to update a record of account, a company record. So those permissions are applicable to me by the security role, one of the security roles, and in that security role, it says that I do not have permissions to update account. Simple. But there are some records that somebody wants me to take a look at from time to time and then take those back. So in that case, person doesn't want to give me the ownership, because once I own those records, remember, ownership will derive the permissions on the record. And if I do not have the permissions to read that record, I will not be able to own it. So assignment won't work here. Remember, we talked about this thing that you need bare minimum read permission on a record in order to own it. So if I have no ownership of a record by my security rule, assignment won't work. And because actually system will not even let me assign that record, or system will not let that operation go ahead if I do not have the permissions to read the account record. So what can help us in this situation? We can actually go by sharing. So let's say I pick a couple of records, I pick one record or two, no problem. I go for sharing, and remember the assigning can also work in multiple records or single records. That's not a problem. It's just the same behavior. So sharing here, it's a more, you can see, more rich interface where you can do a number of things. So what can you do? You can add a user or a team. So I want to say, okay, Mr. Alan Day, Mr. John Doe, they can do what? He can read it, he can write it, he cannot rewrite. Both of them cannot delete. Both of them can add information to this record. So they can add more context to this account, for example. They can assign these records further. See, when I said assign, when I marked assign, also platform also says that, well, you cannot assign because you're actually changing a record. So platform will actually decide it itself. So, and then you can further share or not. Let's have a bit different here. Okay, so Alan and John both can read the records. John can update the record, and they can both append. And John can assign this record to somebody. John does not own it, but still can assign it. That's interesting. And Alan can also share it further, but John cannot. Let's see if this goes successful. Yeah, so now if I try to log in as one of these guys, let me think if I remember the password. I think so. I think I remember the passwords. First of all, I need to see their user IDs. But that matter, I go back to settings, security, users, Alan, and here's the ID. So let's see what happens here. Now, Alan and John both have the read permissions. And let's see, if we go to accounts view, in the active accounts, my active accounts are always those accounts which are either owned by me or owned by the team that I'm a member of. Okay, but active accounts, what can I see? Followed by the active, my connections. So let's see, what is Alan's permission, by the way? Alan does not have a security role by himself. He is getting a security role through the team membership, and that team is this one. So Alan is getting those permissions from the team. Now Alan should be able to, which records first of all did we pick? We picked, I think, first 3 accounts. I think these 3 were shared. So if I try to open one of this and try to do sharing again. Yeah, so this record is shared with Alan in read and he cannot write, okay? Now the thing is that I own the record, not the team. Okay, so if I am moved out of that team, can I? Or actually, I own that record, and what I can do is that I can go to my user. I can give some permissions to Alan, explicit security role to Alan, and I give him only the salesperson role. Salesperson is definitely way below vice president of sales. So I'll just give him the security role, and I strip the security role from this team so that first of all, what is my security role? So that I am not stripped off my security role. It should be system administrator anyway. Yeah, I am system administrator, so nothing will happen to me. I go back to the team and I take down this role from the team. So the team does not have any security role, but Alan has a salesperson role. Now Alan has a salesperson role. What Alan can see. Alan can see accounts, and can Alan see those accounts that we shared? Consolidated Messenger. So to consolidated Messenger, and can Alan write it? Alan can write it because this is owned by me, and I am system administrator, and I have a permission. And actually, salesperson role says that salesperson role says that any account in the business unit where any account in the same business unit is also available to all the salesperson in that business unit. So that's why Alan can actually still see that account without even being shared. So, but the concept of the sharing is that where you do not have the security role, you can still see that record, which is not supposed to be in usual circumstances by the security role available for you. So in specific cases, very specific cases, you pick up some accounts and you allow some specific kind of sharing, some specific kind of operations. Let's take a look at the queues here now. Queues is actually a pretty vast aspect here in the application. Queues. So this is Alan. I will close this one. Let me go back to the settings and we go to administration. No, not administration. We go to business management and say queues. Queues is like, well, you have let's say in a normal in normal circumstances where you do not have in old days, for example, when you did not have desktops or computers to help you work in your daily routine, you used to have some kind of folder structure where things will come in from other colleagues or from the customers, and then will be dropped into your folders, and you would pick up just as a queue says that you take first in, first out. So you just actually have the same concept here. So it's like you push accounts, you push opportunities, you push leads and whatever records into the queue of other users or general purpose queues, like for example sales queues, customer service queue, uh, support desk level 1, support desk level 2. So you can actually create all of those kind of queues. But in general, CRM application has got a queue for every user. So I will always have one queue for myself, and that queue, once my user is created, will always point to my user. It will be owned by my user. Its type will always be private, and yes, it will, and I will always be member of that queue. So now if I go back and take a look at other queues, active queues, so you can see every user has a queue of its own. Then there are some queues which are defined by the business unit. So we have got this queue for the business unit, and this queue is actually owned by the team of the business unit. So remember, there's always a default team in every business unit, and that team always has a queue also. So every team and every user has a queue. CRM does that automatically. But then you can actually create your own queues. These queues are like, again, landing areas where you can place records for the users. And then you can see there are some additional queues. So let's take a look at one of those. This is all done by sample data in CRM. So this is another queue, and it's owned by another user. And yeah, it's much the same, nothing much different. What I want to do is I want to create a public queue. So automatically it's public or private. Once you create yourself, suppose it expects that you are creating a public queue. So let's say we create customer service level 1. Queue could be bound through could be linked to an email address. So for example, you have emails coming in from your customers about the cases of problems on the products. You can link it to an inbound email address which is configured with the Exchange or the email system in your organization, and then that email gets landed here in the queue as something for the organization users to work upon. So if you set that here, you have to also integrate some things behind the scenes for email integration. Then I am becoming the owner. I would like the team to be the owner, not the team, because you have taken the security role from the team. Let's just be myself. So description, customer service level 1 queue. Convert incoming email to activities. Yeah, this could be, again, if you have incoming email integration, you can let the queue handling feature automatically do some homework for you. So you can say, okay, email, whatever email comes into the queue, it's converted into an activity of an email type. And then email messages in response to CRM users. For example, if a customer replies to an email which was actually sent by your system, that email, remember, there's a token in the email. In one of the previous webinars, I mentioned that this token in the email, that email is matched with the subject, with the token in that subject, and then the response is then linked to the outgoing email. So this is that kind of feature, that if that email arrives as a response, also convert that to activity. If an email arrives from one of the leads, contacts, or accounts, also convert those to activities. You can say all kind of emails that come to this queue, only those which are responses from outbound emails from CRM, or the emails which come in from leads, contacts, or accounts, then convert those to activities, or all emails from CRM records that are email enabled. So this is a feature which comes into customization. By default, contacts, accounts, and leads are email enabled. So what that means is that there's an email address field which is by default considered by the system, by the application, a field which will hold the email address, and application will then consider whatever is written in that field of the record to be used for sending out emails to, or linking the incoming emails based on the email address of those in that field. So, but once you create custom entities, again in customization, you can also enable those for email configuration, email enablement. So yeah, there are some more features, but we don't go into that yet. So let's say this is the queue I create, CS level 1 queue. It's a public queue, and then public queues are visible to all users. If I create a private queue, I can add members, and then only those members will be able to see that queue. But that's configuration part of it. Let's see how does it work. So queue is like, again, I said, it's a way to collaborate. It's a way to share the data among the users. Where does that work? Let's take a look at our home page. What I am trying to look for is the public, is the front end of the queue. So this is the queue's front end. So you can see items I am working on, items available to work on. These are two basic filter views in the queue area. So the queue that we created is just right here. And now let's say if I add something to this queue, what can I add? I think I can add a contact to the queue. If it is enabled, I think it's enabled out of box. So what can I do? These are the operations available for me, out of box features, and can I add it to a queue from here? Maybe I have to go into that. I think this is not enabled for queues. If accounts are enabled, I don't exactly remember this part so well, whether the customization has enabled that for out of box. Let's see, customize entity. I don't want to show you this interface at the moment. This is a customization area which comes in later, but let's see. It's not enabled for queues. So if I enable this for queue, and save and publish. Just think this is not happening in front of you. It's just another area. We'll come back to this. And we say publish. So now we have enabled accounts for queues. I will quickly close this after this, and if I refresh this form or this view now, I should be able to see an option to add it to a queue. So this is an active account, and add to queue. Here it is. So now if I say okay, add it to queue, just consider this is not an account. This is something which is being worked upon by customer service. I say okay, add it to a queue, which is public queue. We can say CS level. What does it say? CS level 1 queue. Automatically filters that. So now it's in the queue. Let's say I do not have, from this user's aspect, I have added to a queue, and another user has to work upon it. Now CSL1 queue is something which is for the customer service guys. Customer service guys, they come in every day and they look at what is available to work upon, and they say, okay, I take this part, somebody takes another part. So they actually get a list from which they pick up things to work upon. So now, considering the same interface, now I'm a customer service guy, and I go into the queues and I say, okay, I want to look at what is available for me in the CSL1. Here is something. Here I can take this. So what can I do? I can say, okay, pick this. Pick this will actually, what it will do? The item will be assigned to you to work on. Also remove the items from the queue. So you want to keep this in the queue, or you want to just take it as work. So I say, no, do not remove it. I go with the default option. Let's see what happens. So assigned, do not confuse this assignment with the ownership of the account. This is another thing. We'll come back to this. So I say just pick this item, and now this is not available for anybody else. Remember, this is a public queue, so anybody could actually see what is available in this queue to work with. Now I say, okay, what did I pick? I picked this. Now remember, the ownership, it is assigned to me. The work is assigned to me, not the record. So records assignment is still with the same person or same team. This account is still owned by the same owner. But what has changed is actually there's a thing called queue item detail. Now queue item detail is taken up by me, and this queue item detail, if you have a little bit background about database tables design, queue item detail is like an end-to-end relation. It's a middle entity between an end-to-end relation. In an end-to-end relation between two tables. So queue item links on one side to the queue and on the other side to something, which could be an account or something else. No? Remember, we said ownership will not change. So ownership will remain the same. It's just that I have taken this account to work on. So now this was queue's basic feature. What I wish to show you in one of the next webinars is some kind of a basic automation that you can perform with queues. That will also come in with some basic understanding of customizations area, and I might present you a use case where we have a custom record, not an account or a contact type, but something else that is moving around from one user to another, from one level queue to another level queue. So I hope this gives a good starter for the sharing and the queues aspect. I know assignment gets a bit tricky when it comes to security roles, but remember, security roles have got a big impact on what users can do, what teams can do on specific records. So today at this point, we'll pick it up later again on the queues, a little bit advanced aspect of the queues. I hope to deliver you further information on this. Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye bye.